If you find the information useful, please click the like button so others can find our content. For more information, please visit us at thejerusalemassembly.org. If you have questions, contact us on our Facebook page. The links are provided in the description below. April 1, 2020. The Soon Arrival of the Great Light. By Ruben D. Garcia. Greetings, my beloved readers and friends. I also welcome my fellow and devoted star seeds who have patiently been waiting for this spectacular celestial act soon to be not only spiritually revealed but also witnessed throughout the world. No, this is not a hoax or gesture of April Fool's Day. As we humans have learned to express it, my friends, this event, it's the real thing. Back in February of 2020, I published an article on my website, The Great Light. In it I described the aspects of what will take place very soon for all of humanity. I also included in it my novel, God's Chosen Ones, published in 2005. Originally, in the novel it was referred as a spiritual awakening in which all of humanity finally would be able to truly understand but also revere God differently from our current religious inclinations. I described it as a phenomenal awakening of humanity's emotional feelings toward not only the earth, other beings, and also toward the divine. Since 1987, I have earnestly been conveying all of this to not only you, my current readers, but also other groups. Sadly, I must confess that a large portion of the writings have fallen on deaf ears, as it has also included by my loved ones. I knew deep in my soul that the day would come when all that I have said, shared, spoken, or written would come to pass, and somehow all that I was given in 1981 and 1987 would be a reality. Well, the time began on December 21, 2012, the first phase of it all, and since then, the milestones of the divine plan have taken place, is taking place, as I write this article, and many others will be taking place until the year 2040. This period of awakening for the year 2020 is about to culminate very soon, all in matters of hours or in few days. In my message received back in 1987, I understood to be during a season in which humanity would be celebrating religious festivals that would encompass all of the current religious doctrines of the day. Well, we are in the year 2020, and since January of this year, humanity has inadvertently been exposed to various energetic waves affecting our emotional and spiritual conditions, manifesting in various behaviors. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Humanity will continue experiencing additional energies in all aspects of the spectrum, and it is for this reason that the coming days are crucial for us, because we will be experiencing massive awareness in which the awakened ones will capitulate because of their beneficial effects in our conscience to a purer and higher consciousness. The ability to understand it and rejoice in its effects will be a state of spiritual euphoria, but for the not awakened ones it may seem out of place to frightful current disposition due to the ongoing crisis. That will be because the ones, as I referred above, star seeds, will display happy, sweet, and joyful dispositions as the absorbed energies from the shift of light will affect them in positive and enhanced manifestations. But for those that have not grasped the vital aspects of the various energetic waves arriving since mid-August of 2019 due to doctrinal or personal reasons, the eulogistic behaviors of the awakened ones displaying serenity, pleasantness, and confidence, may be interpreted as uncaring or insensitivity, which of course will be quite the opposite. In short, some human beings will have no control in assessing or determining the scope of the shift on humanity as long as they focus on what it was, rather than focusing on all aspects of a new earth and a new conscience as foretold by the ancient masters. In some instances, their beliefs may hinder for them to see what is obvious to others. For example, recently someone approached me with a very good question. In fact, it was a close loved one seeking a more down-to-earth explanation along with a response palatable and acceptable by the now confused mind. I understood the dilemma because I have encountered that there seems to be currently a predominant disregard by many that something spectacular will impact humanity soon in the scope of greatness. In fact, as recently as last month the predominantly thought was, everything is going great until the viral crisis made its unfortunate presence and changed humanity's invincibility forevermore. Without this crisis humanity would never have witnessed or experienced global needs. It was and it is an unprecedented period in human existence, to say the least, and such is the great light appearance for the year 2020 in which I have been echoing through my writings to be alerted, and I too are happily anticipating its arrival as other awakened ones. Thus, herewith is the response to the posed question. I told my dear loved one that I had the perfect scenario to her dilemma. I found it many years ago when an opportunity to view a movie in which depicted a similar scenario now before humanity. I clearly stated that the movie was made from a popular fictional novel by what was considered back then, a visionary. I even added that throughout life many authors wrote about then fictional scenarios, and since then we, humanity, have already made them into reality. I gave her an example of such individuals being Jules Verne. I read his books as a child and even shared with her the same thoughts she contemplated as maybe being a little absurd, or maybe a little bit unrealistic with my now beloved deceased father. I remember clearly what he would offer to me when I possessed such perplexities: in time and devotion, my dear son, it will happen. And it has happened. I expanded by saying that during my teenage years, the hippie movement brought about many ideals for a better earth for all creatures, and it seemed that back then this incandescent movement to so many of the traditional status quo population brought about the new era authors. I was referring to her to the popular book The Celestine Prophecy. A movie was made, and in a concise manner it gave a good picture of what could resemble today's divinely inspired trend, coincidence, or planned. That is up to each one of us. I suggested for her to watch the movie, and within it, she would find some answers to her dilemma. I added that the end of the movie is not relevant at all in what is to be primordial for the year 2020, but rather a new vision that would last eons down the road. In retrospective, it seems that the need for a changed earth seemed to be logical back then, but it was not the time for it until 2019 and 2020, and we are the witnesses just as the Bible foretold. Since that Christmas Day in 1981, when I sat and began to write God's Chosen Ones based on the messages received that day before, I have written many articles since then, but in the last 5 years I have made every effort possible outlining these aspects of preparing for, shall I call it, emotional and spiritual current crisis in which fears would run rampage in our conscience due to our lack of faith and trust. Does this sound a little threatening to your spiritual ideology? If it does, great, you are one of the ones that has been called to be awakened. Yes, the year 2020 is more than just a test of spiritual and emotional endurance, but also the demolition of an ideology that will not have purpose on the new earth. In fact, I can tell you with certainty that there soon will be disclosures of nations and leaders that propagated humanity's miseries in 2019 and 2020. It is going to perplex many of you to the point that it may cause interference between the ideology of what you believe and trust. It is going to be a test of your ability to assess truth and deception, light and darkness, good and bad. Your awakened status will direct to the right choices with steadfast confidence. It will be the time to believe not only on a greater source of unimaginable powers, virtues, but also His unconditional love toward every single human being, but also for you to love other human beings in the same manner. Yes, that is the reasons why the virus crisis was allowed to exist, because if it only affected a nation solely, humanity never would have understood the valuable meaning of unity and kindness all human beings are now experiencing toward each other. Unfortunately, fear, doubts, and selfishness had to ingress in this crisis for humanity to see itself in the cosmic mirror and recognize that what it was seeing was not of one's liking, but would not be either of delight to a greater source, God. Therefore, the soon arrival of the great light, and know it as it is a shift and is the next step in humanity's ascension to greatness. In many ways, ancient masters often spoke of this divine event, and because it did not happen during the period in which was spoken, it fell on more than deaf ears but also deaf consciousness. For the ancient people that heard all of it, the masters could not prognosticate the day or the hour that it would take place in couple of thousands of years down the road, because if they did, it would have been discarded by all as futile and not a valuable resource to believe and improve their emotional and spiritual lives, even if was for a moment. Simply said, the masters gave hope, something that has become the antidote and elixir to overcome the fear of this virus crisis which humanity is experiencing now. Here is something to keep in mind for the next few weeks as we arrive to this auspicious divine event. The great Master, Jesus, gave us a hint in what he knew for the people of his time and now for us. He taught to all the value or virtues of unconditional love and hope as the pillars of every human being to know the Supreme Source, God at all times of his or her existence, and it is so much applicable now than ever before. It was the parable of the fig tree found in Matthew 24:32-34. The event of the great light is as he portrayed it, ye know that summer is nigh. The summer as a point of reference must be considered. What is the significance of the summer? What is significant of the summer season? Of course, heat. What causes heat in the summer day? The sun, of course, the giver of life to all creatures on earth. Get the picture? Yes, the great light or the event referred by all of the ancient masters will bring a greater consciousness to all of humanity will emanate from the sun. Not as we have been made understand by religious sources, darkening, but by generating a spectrum of light, shall I call it, the cosmic bright source, and will assist humanity to understand all that was previously experienced but also what will be perceivable for the coming 20 years and beyond. Therefore, it is definitely applicable for us as we endure not only the virus crisis, but also the financial and social encounters of the year 2020, and the appearance and significant impact of the great light in humanity's ascension to be a new, more spiritual human beings on a new earth is what it is all about. Welcome, not only to a new earth but a wonderful and awesome new consciousness. I suggest you watch the Celestine Prophecy movie. It is an entertainment medium for the moment, or is it? And so it shall be. Namaste.